after Nate died, our family was falling apart. I had started working on rebuilding our family. So one night I was going to bed and I asked God for help. I said, I need help. So I went to bed that night. I woke up to Jesus next to me, and it was Jesus with bright light behind him. And I was so anti. I said, no, anyone but Jesus. Like, can you send Buddha? Can you send someone else? Anyone but Jesus. And I flipped over in the bed and he said, what's the judgment that you have against this name? And I was like, there's dogma, there's hypocrisy, there's rules that I don't necessarily agree with. And he said, you don't like the rules, you don't really like the structure, but let me tell you what religion is and what it's meant for.
First time I met you, right? Like I did a in-person podcast at a friend's place called Tribe, and we were doing like Q&A in the audience, and it got to you and you just started saying all this wisdom and knowledge, and I was like, oh, I can have a conversation with you for sure. So thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show.
Thank you. It's really an honor. Thank you. I'm looking forward to it.
Sure. So let's get some context. Like, what's your background? Like, what are you into? Like, what's your path look like so far?
My background. So I am a yoga teacher, a teacher of yoga, the whole system of yoga. But I was also, I came to yoga out of sobriety. You know, I was really troubled teenager, lots of in and out of juvenile hall, lots of problems. Parents didn't want me, parents divorced, you know, kind of really lost and struggling. And then when I found yoga, I was 24, I got sober and changed my life. So the commitment to quit alcohol and cigarettes and partying, and then to choose this healthy life was, that was like one big veer in my life. And then I taught yoga, Pilates, bar, lots of fitness, lots of physically focused things, and training yoga teachers. And I got married, got divorced, had kids, all this, you know, family, life stuff, all within. But I was really kind of a material focused yogi. I would say I was like more of an American yogi. You know, you go to yoga and you're sweating and you want it hard, and you know. But I was also an Ashtangi, so I had the system, like a very specific system for practicing, and that was what I needed as an addict and an alcoholic. Like I needed this rigid system that got me on the mat 6 days a week, and that was silent also. So it was a little bit different, but I was definitely that physically focused type of yogi. And I was the one like, I'm late for yoga, get out of my way, you know, running to class. And then and my second husband, we had a son, and life was good. Life was good, but a lot of things happened right before COVID where, you know, movement is medicine and meditation is medicine. And we lived the lifestyle of these American yogis who were really committed to a spiritual path, but we didn't really believe in God. We kind of believed in God. It was sort of like you believe in reincarnation, but what is it really? I could grasp it on a philosophical level, but I wasn't applying it and really living it. I didn't know it. Hadn't had any experience. And my husband had mental illness. So it was really like a soul illness. It was just a lot of things. And of course, it's the body, mind, spirit. Everything starts to deteriorate. And he died by suicide in 2021. And my life completely shattered. So who I thought I was no longer. I couldn't understand a world where he wasn't in it. I didn't understand why yoga hadn't cured him, and why it, you know, it was like a system that I used. And I'm like, I got sober, I found happiness, I found contentment, I can navigate life's up and downs kind of a lot better than I would have without yoga. And but my husband was a yogi. I mean, he meditated twice a day, 20 minutes. He was very committed to his practice. He studied. Yeah, he was aware. And at the same time, he couldn't control. There was a part of him that he couldn't control. You know, when I went over all of his journals and notebooks after he died, it was amazing the wisdom that he had written in these things. He was way more spiritually advanced than I was at the time of his death.
Wow.
But there was a part that he was, and we all have this kind of part where it's a feeling out of control. feeling like you don't, because we really don't have control, right? We only have control over ourselves, over our thoughts and our reactions and our beliefs and our patterns. But we have to train those patterns. And then it was COVID. It was a whole weird time.
Sure.
So in the repairing after his death, kind of, I'm trying to make this short as possible because
Yeah,
there's so
well,
much
we can
there.
dive into some we can unpack some of that story too. I think it's a
Yeah.
lot, right? Like the to kind of like tell your story in a like a 30-second bite, like it's very hard to do. So it's like I get it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I think what I want to hone in on is how life just unfolds. Like to your point about control, like what do we really have free will? Um, do we really have agency in our decisions? And is there future probabilities like that we can pull from, or is it already set in stone? Like, or do we? You talk about reincarnation. Do we make these contracts before we come in, and just it is what it is? Like it's going to unfold the way that it's going to unfold, or do we have agency in how we script the movie? Right? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Interesting. Both.
Yeah.
Both. We have, yeah, that there is a contract before we come in. Absolutely. We have contracts with our parents. We have contracts with our children. We have contracts with our spouses. And Nate and I had this agreement before we were ever born, before we were here, and this was how it was going to end. And it's not actually the end. I say end as in this is his end in terms of our life on earth together. But what it did, his death opened up a whole new world to me. It opened up a world of oneness. It opened up a world of being able to tap into this universal consciousness. It opened up a world of mediumship. I mean, I would have
Really?
never,
For
I did
you?
not. Oh my God. I was like, I didn't, I mean, I believed in spirits. I believe in kind of communication. I talk to my aunt a lot. She helps me find lost things. There was sort of that, but there wasn't, I didn't have the tools. I went to mediums, but I didn't have, or psychics. I didn't have tools to be able to connect myself. But yeah, it opened up this whole world, which it's the most amazing thing to go from material focused life to spirit and material focused life, it opens up a whole new world.
Well,
Yeah.
can the two like can they live in the same world? Like, because I feel like a lot of spiritual like philosophy is like one or the other, right? Like it's either you're spiritual or you're materialist, right? So how do you can you blend the two, or can you synergize the two to like kind of focus and live a balanced life?
Yeah, I think part of it is in our language too. So even I stopped using the word philosophy when I talk about like the Yoga Sutras or the Bhagavad Gita, and started saying, no, this is actually, it's a guidebook. This is a guidebook for living. Because when we think of philosophy, you think that's something that's just out. You're
Sure.
not applying it to yourself, right? So it was as if all of the lessons, all of the things that I had learned before Nate died, suddenly I absorbed them and I knew them to be true. So that we don't die, that consciousness continues after the physical death. Now, they live at the same time? For a couple of years, I really felt like I was walking on a tightrope, and that could fall one way or the other really easily. I'm either going to fall into complete material focused life and that's all I see, or I'm going to fall into the ethers and be out there. And even my kids were like, Mom, like, we need you to come back here. Like, we need you
Mm.
here, because I was really in the spiritual realm for a couple of years.
Is that
And
bypassing, do you think? Like, is that called like, do you think that's kind of like a bypass product or disassociation from reality?
Yes, definitely. I think that it was part of it. Part of it was my brain couldn't focus on what was going on here. And there was so much trauma around it that I needed to kind of compartmentalize. And I actually had to heal my soul before I could heal the mind. So my soul was able to go, okay, this is home. This is my home. There is this oneness that exists, and I can communicate with this oneness that exists. And that helped me to be able to say, all right, now as Melisa, as the human being with this body and with this mind that's had these experiences, how can we heal those experiences in a way that's going to allow me and my children to live this full, healthy, vibrant, joyful life, even though we've been through something really terrible.
Mm. Mm. Wow. Wow. Yeah. I think that's super interesting that through like this trauma, you were able to connect with that. Like, what is it? Like, I find so fascinating people. It's like through trauma that they open up these abilities. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, I don't know if it's like some type of, I don't know. Like, what does it do to the brain or to the body that allows like a deeper connection? What are your thoughts?
When there's trauma, for me, the pain is so bad, the pain is so intense that you do disassociate. It allows this disassociation to happen easier. And when you start to heal the trauma, it allows you to look at things from a different perspective. So I started doing things like looking at things from a bug's point of view, and looking at things from the cloud's point of view, and looking at things from my kids' point of view. It allows you to move outside of yourself. So we have this whole identity, right? And usually we're functioning and walking around as, this is my identity, and I am Melisa, and I am a yoga teacher, and I am this, and I'm a mom, and I'm a wife, and I'm all these things. And then when those are wiped away, whether that can be a career, people have this all the
Sure.
time with divorce or career or losing a child, or these identity crises. And it gives you an opportunity to come back to, wait, what am I really? Without all of that stuff, who am I really? Who am I at my core? And I think that's what so many people are missing, is it's a soul food, it's a soul connection. So that's why we're addicted, and that's why we're distracted, that's why we're making ourselves sick with junk food. We're not connected to our soul, the essence of who we truly are. So what trauma does is it takes away all the bullshit, and you just go, oh my God, I'm not any of those things, because who am I? I'm not any of that. I'm not even this body. Trauma can happen to the body. I'm not even this body. This body is just a temporary vehicle for this experience that I call life. And when we understand that, oh my gosh, my body hold all this tension. I need to have practices to release the tension from the body. I need to have practices that are going to keep my body strong, healthy, flexible. I need the same thing for my mind. I need to have practices for the mind that are training the mind to believe the thoughts that are going to serve my vehicle to be able to do what I need to do, which is our dharma, which is our purpose. So it gives you an opportunity to not be attached to any of that stuff. And only that comes out of something so incredibly painful, hard, right? Because
Hmm.
if you're comfortable, you're comfortable. You're comfortable. You're like, life is good. I'm comfortable. I don't want to change anything. This is great. But it takes that rock bottom, right? They say that you have to hit rock bottom before you make a change, before you want it bad enough. Because you have to want it bad enough.
Yeah, it reminds me of the story in the Bible, the Old Testament of Job, right? When I don't know if you've read it or familiar with it, but it talks about how like the devil tempts God, and he's basically like, "Hey Yahweh, your boy Job is, he's such a great follower of yours because he has a really good. Like, let me add him, let me do my thing, and I guarantee he'll go against all, he'll basically he'll basically stop following you and he'll give up and all this thing, right? And God's like, all right, have at it. And then, it goes through the entire story or the myth of Job. And he's like, I'm not going to get into it. Jung basically wrote a perfect book about it, The Answer to Job, which I totally agree with. But talking and speaking to your point about how spirituality, to me, that the path, if you're not being pressured, if you're not getting into that resistance, that like burn, like the gym, right? Like, you're not growing, there is no growth. Like, you get complacent, there's an idleness to it. Even the Gnostics, they talk about their true Genesis story. They talk about the myth of Adam and Eve and the serpent. And the serpent is actually Christ, because Christ came and saved them from this idleness, this false garden, this world in which they were placed in, and gave them knowledge and gnosis, and they were able to awaken and to like free themselves. And the fall wasn't necessarily a fall, but an awakening to where they were. And I wonder, like, for us, like, everyone wants to be so comfortable. Everybody wants to have The retirement fund, the 401k, all the things, and the job, the career, and they want everything to be nice and easy for like 60, 70,
Yes.
80 years, and they don't want it. They don't
Yes.
want anything to disrupt that. And unfortunately, life, I think, has different plans for us. I think chaos and trauma are those serpent opportunities to come in and give us more of awareness of like how we've been living. I mean, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
So I have this thing called, I call it the circle of knowing. It's like a circle of comfort. I have a few thoughts on that. So if we all live within this circle, like you think of us as the center of the circle, and everything that we experience is within a radius around us. Because it's what we know. So our life experiences and our beliefs and the thoughts that we keep telling ourselves, all of that stuff is within the circle. And when we're comfortable, everything functions within that circle. But when something happens outside of that circle, we tend to say, how could they do that? How is that possible? Like, who do they think they are, or
Mm.
whatever it is? How could they do something that would be so different from how we would do it? We can't understand how someone else actually has their own circle of comfort, their own circle of knowing what they do. When there is trauma, or there is effort, there is work, there is resistance, it's outside of the circle. So it's so important to keep expanding our circle of what we know, because most people get fixed, right? So this is my circle, this is what I know. And if you say something that is outside of the circle, you're wrong. I'm right
Mm.
and you're wrong. And that's it. And we make it really black or white. But in yoga, there's a Kriya practice. It's tapas, which is heat to purify, or heat to create change. You're heating something up. Literally, you're making something uncomfortable in order to have change. And then there's swadhyaya, which is self-study. Then we reflect on it and go, well, okay, so what am I learning about myself through this discomfort? And then there's surrender, a surrender to the higher path, a surrender to God, a surrender um, to the oneness that we all are. A surrender to your highest calling really is what we want to practice. Well, it's what I want to practice. So it comes with a willingness to be uncomfortable. You have to go, okay, you know what? I'm willing to I'm willing to wake up at 6 when I don't want to, or 5 when I don't want to do something. I'm willing to get into a yoga posture that is uncomfortable for my body, and to hold it, and to train my mind and the body to stay and to breathe and to be calm through it. And then we reflect on it and say, well, what have I learned about myself? Where do I still need growth? What are some of my limiting belief patterns that are holding me back? You have to take the time to reflect, right? And to identify some things that were making change, and then you surrender. It's like letting go of, surrender the control. Oh, that's right. Wait, I don't have control over anything outside of myself. So that person over there that I'm really upset with, that has a whole different opinion and a whole way of living their life, and that I can't understand, you have the option either to resist it, or you have the option to grow into it and to say, well, wait a second, can I expand my level, my circle of what I know? Because that is the human experience. We are constantly growing and expanding. We're constantly building more of what we want to become. And it's just about, do I just want to feed myself what I already know, or do I want to feed myself what I don't know and be willing to be a student? Does that
Mm.
make sense?
Yeah. No, 100%.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, beautifully said. I think that's beautiful.
Pema Chodron has these three phases too. She calls it comfort zone, learning or challenge zone, and then the overwhelm or like danger zone. So most of us want to live in comfort zone. Comfort zone is super great for rest and recovery. It's super great for recharging. It's super great for short times. But then we have challenge zone. So we want to be able to know, when have I moved over into comfort zone? How can I bring myself into challenge zone? And then you can go over, this is where trauma is, this overwhelm zone, because it shatters your paradigm for reality. It can be too much. That's when the stress is too high and your brain shuts down, the body shuts down, nothing is functioning. So it's understanding what the body mind is, and knowing, okay, well, what level am I in right now? Am I in challenge zone? Do I need to bring myself down into comfort zone so that I can repair and recover? Did I get too high up into this danger zone where things are not functioning. My body's not functioning. I'm not sleeping. I'm not digesting. I'm not able to reproduce. I'm not able to think. I'm not able to make good decisions. How can I bring myself back down into the lower zones? So it takes so much awareness. You know, it's so funny. I think as humans, we distract ourselves with all of this stuff that is so not important to our quality of life. It has nothing. It's so not important. When if we would just say, you know what, I'm going to spend an hour a day like learning about myself, learning about what it means to be human, about learning what I need to thrive, about learning my thought patterns that might not really be serving me, learning about family patterns that really might not be serving me, learning about how I am in relationships and is there a way that I could be better. You know, like I think that's kind of the cool part of life. Like that's the part that excites me now.
Mhm.
Or
Yeah.
maybe not now. I probably always was like that actually.
What do you think?
But
What do you think the original intention was behind yoga? Right, like I see yoga in the Western world. Like to your point, you carrying these mats and you're doing this. What is it? The hot yoga or whatever. What do you think the original intention was? Looking at some of the ancient philosophy, reading some of the texts about yogis and what their abilities are, like supernatural capabilities,
yeah.
levitating, and all these different things. Like, what is the original intention behind yoga?
Mm, to tap into the God source, oneness with God.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. So like
Yeah. To be able to
yoga,
live in
like
that state
so
or
hot
be
yoga
in that state more
can
often.
get you
Yeah.
there. Like yeah, like can it can tap like allow you to tap into that frequency?
I think I think training the body and the mind and putting yourself in an uncomfortable position absolutely can. It's a good foundation. It's a good start, but it's not the practice isn't going to end there. That
Mm,
alone is not going to get you to become a mystic. That's not going to get you to be able excuse me
sure.
to be able to have the supernatural powers of the yogis, which are the clairs. You know, to be clairvoyant, clairaudient, claircognizant, clairsentient. You're able to pick up information from something that's not in this material world. It's something we can't see, smell, taste, and touch, and then it is being able to tap into the God source to be able to have access to information that you would never you would never be able to access. Um,
How do you know you're there?
so
Right? Like how do you know you're in that God source?
So for me, you know, I wish I had brought my magnets, but if you know, when you take magnets and you bring magnets together like this,
Hmm.
um, and you can feel the energy of a magnet, like in Qigong, you start to feel the energy. There's a
Like
feeling.
the attraction or like the repulsion of magnets?
It's the repulsion. It's where you feel a different source, you feel a different energy source, and then you ask that energy source to blend with you. So you can feel that kind of brush up against you, and then you say blend. Now, being in that state, you have to be already of a high vibration. So we have to, so that's where the purification practices of yoga are really important. We're purifying the body and we're purifying the mind of all of the things that hold us down, of the junk, the negative stuff, the things that are like making our body sick. So when it comes to like if you do hot yoga and then you go and have a Starbucks frappuccino and you know, a cake pop or something like that, you know, it's just sort of
How'd you
like which
know? How'd you
I
know what I
know,
do?
I
How do
know.
you know that? I love cake
I
pops.
know. I know
You
they
watching
are.
me?
Maybe, yeah. It's it's all out there, right? It's that's it's sort of like we hold ourselves back in a lot of different ways. And we also part of being human is being able to have these experiences of eating something really delicious and going, wow, this is something you can only eat as a human being. So you do want to find the balance because it's not that you need to go be a mystic in the mountain and eating quinoa for the rest of your life and that's it. But you want to practice, there need to be practices for non-attachment. And we have to be consciously teaching ourselves this is important. Non-attachment is important, to be not attached to my thoughts, to be not attached to my body, to be not attached to my opinions and my identity, because it's only in that state when we surrender who we think we are that we're able to merge with the God source.
What are your thoughts on asceticism? Like being like an ascetic, right? Like rejecting all of the worldly bodily like impulses. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Um, well, I think that I see the urge. I go through my my kids will be like, no, we go to Goodwill a lot. We drop things off at Savers a lot because I'm like very material, buy stuff, and then I'm like, let's get rid of stuff. But I do think for the aesthetics, I think that it's hugely important actually that there is a certain population that is willing to do that. That's willing to like monks.
Do you
It's
think that's a
important.
requirement though? Like to becoming a mystic?
No, no, no. Actually, no, I don't. I think that it's a lot harder though for the householders because we
Yes.
just have more going on. We have
Yes.
kids, you
Well,
have
it's
the
so easy to go run and hide in a cave, right? Like I just feel like it's just all right, what is the work really? Like this might be the hardest game out there, right? Like
for sure.
to live in modernity and be spiritual. I don't know. I know when I've been taken hold of those attachments, when I can't live without something. And I feel like sometimes meditation can be like that too, right? Like if I have to go meditate because I don't want to like face an emotion or like really dissect a hard time in my life, I find like meditation could be like a form of bypassing also, right? So I think there's this beauty of walking that middle road of balance to your point, and not getting too caught up in the spiritual game of like this is what spirituality looks like, this is what mysticism looks like. I think the connectivity is the key. Like how much can you connect with that source or that information, that 0 point energy field, and receive feedback from that. I get lost a lot because of my attachments to things, the podcast, to success, to family things, family dynamics, systems, like all the eye candy, right? And I lose track of like the true essence of who I am, and like the fun and the mystery of life. Like this is a mystery 100%. Like no one has like it still cracks me up. People think that people have like the exact truth. Like this is the one truth that everyone should believe, and I don't believe that. I really do think our perceptions are what really shape our reality, and I don't think anybody has the authority on that. I think some people say this is exactly what happens after we die. How do you know that? Like how do you know that? I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. And our perception that the cool thing with our perceptions is that we control our perceptions. So we think that we're just fixed. Most people, not you and me, but we go, this is who I am. This is how I see the world. This is how I speak. This is just how I am. So accept it or don't. Well, you have to accept it or don't, right? Do you accept who you are or don't? And if you don't, if there's a part of your life that you're not happy with, you can change your perspective about it. I mean, it really is as simple as changing an outfit. It's like change your clothes, change your perspective. And it takes some practice, but once you start practicing and not being married to your own perspective, not needing to be right, then it opens up a whole world for people, because
Sure.
then we can go, well, wait a second, I'm not happy with this one situation. You can flip it. And the cool thing is you can even go back and do this with past events. So let's say you have these childhood wounds, and you feel insecure or feel abandoned or feel rejected because of childhood wounds. Through like hypnosis, you can go back and or even a deep meditative state, you can go back and you can reprogram how you experience that event. And that changes you moving forward, so that then instead of being insecure, you actually become confident, because when you realize all these things are happening and it's not really to you, they're just happening. But we
Mhm.
as children experience it as, personally, this is happening to me. I'm a
Sure.
bad kid. I'm doing something wrong. Because we don't, that's how we experience life, is
Yep.
we all think it's personal.
Yep.
So that's
100%.
perspective is the biggest thing. And that's, if people could, if I could, that's kind of what I love, is like having people play around with different perspectives and saying, what's the perspective that I'm wearing right now? And is that the best perspective for me?
I love that because, like, yeah, my perspective is totally a collection of programming or conditioning. of people telling me what is truth. And I think the fear, I think why some, and look, this is not a hit on Christianity at all, right? This is not a hit on religion or anything like that. What I see in my reality are people resorting back to religion and dogma because of the fear of the unknown, like the times that we're in, like everyone, the misinformation, like agenda, the fake news, like cycle, and so much chaos being shown in the world through mass medias. I think there's a fear of like, oh man, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what to do. I'm not grounded right now, so I'm going to go back into my old faith or religion, where it's been 2,000 years of like some type of like grounding or safe place for them, and they're not really taking this time and opportunity to like really dive into their own like essence of who they are, like to find out, ask their own questions and get their answers. I think there's a fear of the unknown, and of course death, and people don't want to be wrong, so they resort to what makes them comfortable, and they conform back to what maybe their family or maybe what they're used to, their culture is used to, because again, there comes this like securing, like this nurturing feeling of okay, I can put down all my curiosities, I can put down all the questions and just pick this book up, which is, I've been told, is the truth. This is going to show me what's actually right. And it's like, I feel like you got to double down on like your own path and your own answers. Like it's trial and error. And I know there's fear associated with that. There's fear with anything new, but you evolve, right? And I'm curious to know, like, since 2020 and everything that's happened in your life, like, how has your interpretation of reality changed?
Okay. So can I talk about the
You can do
church
whatever you
first
want.
and then go to
Go ahead.
reality?
Sure.
So, okay. So you want to be open to another perspective
Yeah.
on religion? So I have always been spiritual, not religious. And I really like wore that badge. Like, I'm spiritual, not religious, because I take things from different religions and I put them together to form something that I believe and, that serves me. And after Nate died, our family was falling apart. I'll tell you another mystical experience, but I had started working on rebuilding our family. And so it was really like family and home are safe space. So that became my mantra. That became what I needed to do. This was about 8 months after he died, and we were all really bad. So we re-implemented family dinners. Everything became about safe space, emotional regulation, learning to emotionally regulate as an adult, and learning to emotionally regulate as with my 3 children. So we came to respect our family as like this whole one space, and that when we're in the home with each other, that we are all going to show each other the respect that we would show a teacher or somewhat a friend's parent or something. Well, I started working on my own emotional regulation. I was doing pretty well. Sorry, there's a weed whacker. You let me know if that's too loud.
They're always cutting grass all the
They are
time.
always cutting grass. Yeah. And so one night I was going to bed and I asked God for help. I said, I need help. I asked Nate a lot for help too. So it's kind of God and Nate and my guides. And I really need help with the family. So I had a huge, I have a huge online spiritual support group because I study mediumship. So I have many mediums and spiritualists that I get my soul food from, right? But my kids weren't getting the soul food. And I thought, all right, but I need help with the kids. I need help like teaching them good values, how to behave, how to treat other people, wanting them to feel confident, wanting them to be compassionate, kind. So I had these kind of lists of things that I wanted my children to be, and I was modeling them, but at the same time, I needed more. I felt like it takes a village, right, to raise a kid. So I went to bed that night, and I woke up to Jesus next to me, and it was Jesus with bright light behind him. And I was so anti. I said, no, anyone but Jesus. Like, can you send Buddha? Can you send someone else? Anyone but Jesus. And I flipped over in the bed, and he said, what's the judgment that you have against this name? And I was like, the name. And he said, you've committed to living a life without judgment. You've committed to being open and curious. You've asked for help, and yet you have this judgment against the name of Jesus. What is the judgment? And I was like, there's dogma, there's hypocrisy, there's rules that I don't necessarily agree with.
Mm.
And he said, you don't like the rules, you don't really like the structure, but let me tell you what religion is and what it's meant for. It's meant for soul food for families. It's meant to help parents as they're raising children, the next generation of youth, to have some type of uh, value in terms of how we treat each other. It's meant to like take the burden off of the individual parents, and to have, in Hawaii we have what we call it ohana, and that's, it's not just your family that's raising these children, it's the extended family, it's these aunties and uncles, it's the neighborhood. And you really all do, like, you all are together. I mean, you grow up with aunties and uncles that you can call for anything. So a parent doesn't really feel alone, they're really doing it as a community. Well, that's what religion is supposed to do. It's supposed to be soul food for human beings in a way that's really supporting them. They come together, you sing, which raises your vibration. You learn, you hear stories about how to act, how to respond, how the challenges in life that all human beings are going to have. And it doesn't matter what religion, but all human beings are going to have certain challenges, right? All human beings are going to be faced with hardship. All human beings are going to be faced with loss, or not getting what you want, or feeling pulled to do the wrong thing. But when we're teaching people how to do the right thing, no matter what, when no one's looking, how do you do the right thing, and what is the right thing? That is what religion is for. You come together once a week, whether you go to, you go to church, but there's a ritual around it. And he really emphasized too, this ritual around spiritual practices, and a ritual around coming together as a community for the betterment of that community. And what's so cool with religion too is that you, we're supposed to have different religions, because we're supposed to have different rituals, because there is a sense of belonging. So as human beings, it's vital. We have to feel the sense of belonging. That's why so many people, when we feel isolated, end up getting sick, because there's no sense of belonging. You need that. We're social creatures. And so religion's supposed to be doing that. Now, man has all these things, right? So human beings will take the religion and they'll manipulate it and they'll be greedy, but that's all part of the human part. So here's what I did. I said to my kids, hey, you guys want to start going to church? All three of them said yes.
Oh, wow.
So we started going to churches, and we went to 5 different churches until we found one that had what we wanted. It had a lot of singing. It had a kids club for my youngest one. And it had a late practice, a late, 11:15. So we didn't have to go at 9:30. And the pastors were really great. And the pastors were, inspirational, and really delivered these powerful messages. So we were getting our soul food. So it was, and we still go. We go to THP afterwards and have bagels. It's
That's
like our
awesome.
Sunday ritual.
I
Yeah.
love it. I
Yeah.
love it. Yeah, I'm not hating on religion. I just think that there are some, like, my kids go to church, or my kids go to a Catholic school, just in case I'm wrong, right? Like, I just want to make sure there's an insurance policy, right?
Right.
For them. Like, I'm cool with me going wherever I need to go and try the
Right.
things that I need to try. But for my kids, if I'm in
Right.
case I'm wrong, they have that.
Totally.
Um,
Totally. Yeah.
I think, yeah. Well, how's it changed your perspective on reality, like what this reality is?
Oh, so what this reality is. This was cool. So my perspective on reality changed because of grief, and because of a spiritual experience that I had on the night my husband died. So, and everything changed after that. I didn't actually feel like I was living in this world was no longer this world. At first, felt like I was in the upside down. You know that movie, Stranger Things, like being in the
Mm-hmm.
upside down. It was
Mm-hmm.
like an alter reality, but everything was dark and gray. But then I started working in the garden, doing a lot of gardening, spent a lot of time outside, and really asking, like, what is reality? What I became so hungry to know what consciousness is, obsessed to the point that was all I was doing, was communicating with spirit, or reading books, or learning. Um, Reality is really what we make it. So I believe that this reality, this world that we live in, that we call reality, what we see, smell, taste, touch, and hear, is a tiny little fraction of everything that exists, like so super small of
Mhm.
everything that exists. And when we believe in a God source, a higher power, the universe, something bigger than us, it allows us to be able to accept that reality. It's for me, it's a much better reality to live in. If I live in material world is all I see and experience and that's it, oh my gosh, I mean, can I just get upset about the smallest little things? And I think I'm so important and that, my problems are so important that I can be really reactive and uh, fearful. I live in a state of fear. So because I had made a commitment to myself to not live in a state of fear, that happened after my husband died because I lived in fear for about a year and a half before he died. It was just a very scary time. Um, and I was not going to do that. And then I lived in fear after he died too, because I was
Mm.
having a lot of metaphysical experiences, and I was still really new, so I was kind of scared then
Like,
too.
what do you mean? Like, can you dive into that a little bit? Like, what type of experiences?
Yeah, things like lights. I mean, lights flickering, lights going on when you're not in the room, lights going off when you're not in the room. Things that were battery operated that had been dead start making sound.
What?
It was, yeah, there was this one
So you were living in
baby.
fear because of things like this happening to you?
Yeah, because I was yeah, and it wasn't that I was super scared necessarily of my husband coming back to haunt me, but it did kind of feel like that. And because I had seen lots of scary movies, when I was younger. So those scary movies, those things are like ingrained in there, like poltergeist kind of things.
Mhm.
They're ingrained of like how what because my whole world now opened up to this is possible, this is real. My reality is now that these things happen that are supernatural, that you can't explain, and that it's spirit guides Nate con- communicating with me. So when you make that switch, that's a little scary because you're moving into something that's completely unknown, and what you do know about it you got from scary movies, you know what I
Wow.
mean?
Yeah, so it kinda
So
it distorts that experience, right? Already in a negative effect because of
yeah.
yeah, I got that, yeah.
So it got to be, yeah, there were times that I was like, okay. And I realized that that was holding me back from my mediumship too, my own fear. I'm like, no, only love and light. So I bless the house. We have crystals, we sage, which it's very, only people, human people that are alive and spirits that have our highest good are allowed within my home. Um,
So, have you always been, like, gifted with mediumship capabilities, or was it Nate's incident and that trauma that opened you up to exploring and connecting more?
as a kid, I always had really vivid dreams. I had dreams about invisible people, and they were scary. I was scared. I have a lot of dreams of like running away from the invisible people. Um, and I think I've always been really intuitive, but I didn't know that I was intuitive. So I picked up on other people's energies and I carried them with me without knowing, which made me really emotional. It made me really sensitive. It made me really angry, scared, fearful. But my mom has always said that I'm psychic. So my mom, we would, before cell phones, she would be like, okay, I don't know how to find you, but there would be a way. We would just meet each other and find each other. I didn't know it until after Nate died because that was just how I lived. So I actually, yeah, I've always been psychic. My grandma was a medium
Oh, wow,
too.
really?
Yeah, my
Have you
paternal
talked to her
grandmother.
about this?
I
Like,
talked to her. Yes,
what did
yeah.
she say? Like,
Well,
"Finally, I knew this. I knew you were like this." Like, yeah.
yeah, she's super proud of me. She goes, "Yeah,
Do
finally
you
it's
ever
almost
compare
like."
notes with her?
I do. I ask her for a lot of help actually. I ask her, she was a Reiki master too, so I ask her a lot of help with my Reiki work, and I had a dream with her where I hear my grandma. I can actually like talk to her and hear her, but there was a dream where we make this mochi. It's a Japanese dessert made with mochi rice flour. And that was like my grandma's thing. I was making it. And in the dream, I was bringing her this tray of like mochi that looked so bad. It was like lumpy and clumpy and like, and I just went, oh, I'm so sorry. And she's like, no, Missy, this is good. This is great. This is, you know, she's encouraging me, even though I feel like it might be sloppy or I might be slow in learning these things. She's always encouraging me. Yeah. It's
Oh,
the
that's
most
so
amazing
great.
gift.
That is, yeah, for sure. So, now that you're cultivating a stronger muscle, or you're really strengthening that connection, like what kind of messages are you getting? Are you like connecting with your guides? Are you connecting with, are you having people coming in and the clients or whatever, however you want to name that, and then helping them connect to the other side? Like what's up right now with you?
Yeah, I do. I'm in many development circles, and I have just started seeing clients too for psychic or mediumship. So you probably know, but I'll just explain it in case anyone doesn't. The difference between psychic and mediumship. So psychic is reading someone else's aura. It's really tapping into their soul, and it's being able to read their energy and communicate with their soul for their highest good. So you bring messages or things that they might be going through. But with a mediumship is connecting with spirit. That can be guides, that's loved ones that are transitioned. And so it's blending with their energy to be able to bring back evidence of their continued existence.
Hmm.
So I do both. I really study mediumship. It's a lot harder.
It's a lot harder to be a medium than a prophet, I guess, or a psychic.
Than a psychic. Well, it's a different frequency, so it takes more skill, I find. Yes, because you're learning to communicate in a way that's not in any way we've ever communicated with. So it's hearing. It's if
How
we
do
think
you
about
how do
like
you get the information? Do you hear it? Do you see it? Like what does that look like?
I feel it. So I feel and I see mostly. I smell also. So I can smell when someone is a smoker. I can smell if they were a coffee drinker or a tea drinker. I can smell their cologne or if they have a scent that's associated with them. But for the most part, I sense, I feel, I do download, they call it claircognizant. It's when you just know something, but I'm building up the trust muscle with that. So there is a whole layer of building this trust. I think
Hmm.
that's what takes mediums so long to develop, is really being able to trust what you're perceiving and that is accurate.
Hmm.
Yeah. I don't hear very well. It's actually probably my weakest clair
Really?
is the hearing.
What's the message, right? Like, are you at that, I mean, are you still at the early stages of developing this gift, to where, like, because I feel like I'm having a lot of conversations with a lot of different channels, a lot of different mystics, and it just seems like we're in this like initiation as a collective, and you can kind of see in the world a reflection of that, in the chaos that we're experiencing. Like, are you getting similar communications?
I tend to be working more with people one on one who have lost loved ones and
Okay.
really want messages from their loved ones as opposed to how to heal the collective conscious. But I do think that there is an awakening that's happening right now. There's a whole shift in how we're experiencing reality and being open and aware of this other reality that we weren't aware of. So, and it's not like you're on one side and then you're on the other and then it stops, right? It's kind of like the colors of the rainbow where we're moving. There are different grades and different shades. And so we're moving up and up and up in our levels of consciousness. Um, and I think that that's also a reflection of all of the negative things that we see. It's the polarity. So as things go really bad, there's also going to be this huge rise in consciousness because that helps to balance out the world. It's all
Sure.
about coming into balance. Yeah.
What do you think the new healers look like? The people that are coming out with these gifts, and the change in, perspective, the integration of holistic medicine and healing. Like, what do you think the new healer looks like?
The new healer looks like a normal everyday person who has a really bright light. They shine, they are vibrant, they draw people to them, they are open minded, they listen, really good listeners, and they're mystics. They're energy workers, they're massage therapists, they're Reiki practitioners, they're mediums and psychics, they're holistic health coaches. They're people who are looking to heal the body, mind, spirit, and as a really looking at people as a whole, and not. I think people are going to move away from Western medicine and this fractionalized, compartmentalized type of healing, and moving into really, how do I treat myself? Like, you take one medicine for one part, and then it has the side effects, so you have to take another medicine to counter the side effects, and then another medicine. People are on like 10 different medicines. It just doesn't make any sense. So people I think are really going, wait a second, this is not helping my quality of life. It's actually like, I'm not feeling better. I'm not feeling better.
Yeah. Hmm.
So the real healer is going to be someone who works with breath work, who works with movement, who works with thought patterns, who works with a spiritual practice and faith, who works with energy, who works with getting outside, who works with holistic remedies.
I think we need a place. I think we need like I don't think we have a model for that yet. I don't think there's. I don't know. I don't feel like there's a brick and mortar space for people to go to have these healings, right? Or these experiences or soul work. It's almost like a
Yeah.
soul gym, like some place where you can go to like really feed the soul and to experience like, having that self empowerment to really heal everything that is like, pulling you in all different directions. That's why I'm so fascinated with nervous systems, like nervous system work and calming and getting into parasympathetic, because I feel that's where the healing takes place. And I also think that the nervous system is what cultivates a stronger intuition like effect. The more calm the nervous system, the more connection there is to that field. There's been like studies like suggesting this, like your nervous system can predict like future highly triggering events without you even knowing it. So your body's telling you something before the conscious mind actually has time to respond to that.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on the nervous system and like tapping into that?
Learning how your nervous system works and learning how to regulate your nervous system is an essential human skill. Like, it's just absolutely basic. It should be taught to every single person. I teach it to my kids. It should be taught literally to children as they're growing up, how to regulate your nervous system and how to be able to determine when your nervous system has been activated or not. So the cool thing is, if we can get people to be living in a state of homeostasis, and that's the state where everything functions right the way it's supposed to. You don't have that pit in your stomach, your heart's not beating super fast, you're not overly hot or overly sweating, your mind's not racing, like your digestion system's working, everything is working well. If we can live in that place, then you can tell when your nervous system has been activated. And then what's cool is then you go, well, wait a second, what activated it? What was the thought that I had? What's the fear or the pattern that's bringing that? Am I really safe? Am I safe or am I not safe? Like, and if you're not
Mm-hmm.
safe, you get yourself out of danger. But most of the time, it's just a thought, right? Most of the
Mm-hmm.
time, it's not real. And so being able to say, well, wait a second, I'm going to prune that. I'm going to like pull out that weed. And that's you can either cut it back and it will grow again, or you can pull out the whole weed, identify the root of what that fear is or that belief is, and pull the whole thing out, and then plant in something new that you want to grow. So it's nervous system regulation is like, it's almost 101. Like, it should be taught with the ABCs. It should be so incredibly basic and ingrained to every human being. But that comes with, I think, probably starting to work with parents and
Sure.
getting
I,
parents
I
to
find
understand.
yeah, I mean, 100%. I think, I didn't know any of this. I'm still learning more about the nervous system and how we can self-regulate and how it can be adaptive to life. And chronic hyperarousal is a cause to a lot of disease. And just this integration to life. And I feel the more that I tap into a calm nervous system, the more like, all right, for example, right, men's retreat that I participate in, like, I don't know what it is. Like, there's this container that you put yourself in, and when you are in this space, like it just feels so connected. It feels so true. It's like a remembering. It's almost like an activation. It's almost like an alignment that's taking place. And I couldn't put my finger on it. I was like, I want to know what the mechanism is that allows us to feel connected, right? And the more that I do research on the nervous system, the more I'm realizing that, wow, we are aligning through the parasympathetic like system, the state, that regulated state. Our nervous systems are, I think there's a word in physics called entrainment, where we are oscillators. Our hearts are oscillators, which is connected to the nervous system, the central nervous system. And when you oscillate at a frequency, others around you start to align and become coherent to that, and you start functioning together as a whole. And that feeling is where a great, great experience can take place. You can start creating, you can start manifesting, you can start receiving downloads, you can start changing your life from these states. But then the hard part is going back from that space back into the wild or back into the machine of modernity. And like there is this automatic cognitive dissonance when you step back into that space. It's like, oh my God, like I can fit my body. Like the Sunday scaries make sense to me. It's like my nervous system is telling me, hey dude, like you're getting ready to go back into it. And so it's like it's preparing me. Like it doesn't know anything else but how to save me from danger. And it's like preparing me, shooting my body with all these different chemicals and neurotransmitters to help me stay aware of my surroundings. And so I can't go to sleep. Like there's insomnia effect when I'm
Mhm.
getting ready to go back to work. And it's kind of like a sign. It's like, all right, well, maybe you're not on purpose. Like, how do we align back to that? How do you get back into a safe space? And yeah, that's
Mhm.
where I find myself right now. Is like continually finding and researching how I can regulate and find techniques and modes and means and methods of implementing more of that uh, to regulate.
Do you have a it does, because that what you do a retreat, you're in this safe place, things open up, your aura expands because you're healing any wounds in your aura. You're training the body and mind to be still. The law of resonance is when you're with someone, right? That the two
Mm-hmm.
frequencies are going to merge together. You've had this safe space of like open heart, and Heart Math Institute measures it's like 8 feet out our aura can go, right?
Yep.
So your heart starts to open, but then you go back into daily life and you're going back into a different environment. So the environment is so important. We do not put enough value on how our environment sets us up for success or failure or anything in between. But the environment that you're held in is what you're going to breed, like a petri dish. So when
Yep.
we go back into life, we have those stressors, we have work, and we have deadlines, and we have financial pressures and family pressures. And so it's, well, wait a second, what are the practices? And it does take like a regular practice to have a regular reset your nervous system practice that you do several times throughout the day, so that you can check in and go, oh, wait a second. Oh, that's right. What is my priority today? What do I really need to get done today for today to be a success? And then being able to have the discernment to put those things off to the side. And it takes discipline, right? To put those,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like you. I mean, I will stay up till 3 in the morning and then go. Yesterday, I was in such a bad mood because I got 3 hours of sleep, which happens when I get really creative and I get so excited about this stuff and I just create, um, and it's also time that they talk to me. I feel like the communication is really open late at night when everyone else is asleep. But I was tired and I was cranky, and my 15-year-old said, "What's wrong with you? Why are you being so bossy and mean?" And I'm like, "I'm tired. I'm tired and I'm cranky." And she said, "Well, why didn't you just say that? Because if you had said that, then we would all know that you're tired and cranky. And then I won't take it personally. And plus, you need to just go to your room. If you're going to be tired and cranky, give yourself a timeout, because we're big into self timeouts too." Like, and I went, "Oh my gosh, Melisa, my priorities are so, I get so excited about this stuff. And then I go without sleep because I think I can handle it. Like,
Sure.
it all has to get done. But the effect is that I'm miserable for my kids, who are the most important people in the world to me. So that I'm being cranky and short and impatient with them. And I was like, no, that's right. Get right back on track. Like, have a bedtime. And that's my hardest one, is to have a disciplined bedtime. So it takes a routine that's going to prepare your body for sleep. So if we think of sleep as like this really wonderful, rejuvenative, restorative, like you're getting ready to go in for a 6 hour, 7 hour massage, and you're just going to be in this cocoon. How would we want to prepare for it? Well, you probably want to be clean. You want some breath work to slow things down. You want to think good thoughts, the things you're grateful for. You might be replaying a future version of you. That's always a really nice way to start falling asleep, and not from a place of scarcity of like, this
Mhm.
is where I am and I should be there, but it's from a place of fun of, oh, this is the me that I'm becoming. Let me get excited about this me that I'm becoming, and the life that I'm creating, and to fall asleep with visions of that, and then to ask that all your problems be solved while you're sleeping. So there's some kind of a ritual for preparing for sleep. And I think we need rituals like that throughout the day. There's a ritual for how you start the day. We have a ritual for how we eat our meals, for preparing to eat with grace or whatever it is. But these rituals throughout the day, I think, keep us coming back to spirit all the time too. It reminds us we're not alone.
Mm.
Everything's going to be good. Everything will work out. Because we have the tools, so long as we have the tools to be able to handle whatever shows up. We have the tools to regulate our nervous system. We have the tools to train the body to be still, or to train the body to be strong and flexible. We have the tools to be able to train our minds, and we feed our minds good food. It really is about like skill building and what we feed ourselves and the
Mhm.
environment that we choose to live in.
Yeah, I agree. All of that is spot on. I just think with spirituality, a lot of us can get caught into wanting to be more like in the consciousness in the spiritual world and not really come here in the material world and live here where evidence and new science is showing us that the body is a technology, and you can increase your intuition and connectivity to that space without leaving here, and it can help show you how to live a more coherent life. um, you said earlier about the brain heart coherence, or the Heart Math Institute. I think that science alone, even Dr. Joe Dispenza's work, right, like is
Mhm.
showing us this connectivity amongst ourselves when we get into these groups, these containers, and how the nervous system can regulate and how you can bring in more of that energetic flow. um, because I feel like when you have trauma in the body, when you have this stored energy that's within, it blocks you from that intuition. It blocks you from receiving and accessing different states of consciousness and information, which
Mhm.
keeps you stuck into that fight or flight state where you keep repeating and creating the same reality over and over again. And you get lost in that story. And I think when you start shedding some of those neural connections, and you start seeing different models of how to be, that's when things start opening up for you. Like you can see new possibilities for yourself. You can have new experiences. People start to flow with you. You start just resonating, to your point, like the law of resonance, reciprocity, the mirror effect. When what is it? As above, so below. Where like your inner states are actually changing your reality, and you thought it was the mind the entire time, which mind is fundamental, but like your body is also a piece of technology that we should 100% take advantage of.
Oh my gosh, completely. I have a course. It's called The Journey Within, and I'm writing a book too. And it's all about taking yourself from grief, wherever that is, grieving the life that you were supposed to have, grieving the life that you wanted to have, that you planned to have, and then giving yourself permission to be where you are. To it takes you, it's shadow work, but going into that raw place of who am I, and really digging deep, like who am I and who am I not, being able to prune away, like you said, all of those things that who I am not, and then building a new version of the future you. So usually we go through life thinking that we're all one person, this whole life, but we're not.
Mm.
We're constantly changing and we're constantly evolving, giving ourselves permission to be a different person because you've had some experiences now that have changed your perception of reality, and because you want to have a better reality. You want to live in a world where you don't feel fear every morning when you wake up. You don't feel dread about the day, or you're not carrying around resentment or heartbreak from 20 years ago, or you know what I mean?
Yep.
You're so giving yourself permission to do that, to create a new reality, and then to reprogram in that a new reality. So it's pruning away what you no longer need, reprogramming in what is going to serve you, and then having an accountability check. I have this thing called the energetic plumb line. So in yoga or in posture and Pilates, we're looking at the body in terms of a plumb line. So we want certain things to match up along the plumb line, and that's called ideal alignment. When something is off of alignment with the plumb line, we know there's going to be pain or breakdowns in certain areas. Energetically, we're the same way. So if we are not living in a way where our values and our priorities and our beliefs and our actions and our words and our intentions are all lined up along the plumb line, we end up with sickness and disease. We end up with inconsistency. And it could be shame. It could be guilt. It could be not willing to let other people in. But all of these misalignments cause suffering. And so when we are able to and willing to live in integrity and willing to take the time to go, well, wait a second, I said those words, but why did I say those words? What was my intention behind the words? Was it to be mean? Because I have that in me. I know when I'm feeling defensive or angry or short-tempered or tired or hungry or whatever, right? We have this ability to be mean. So really going, well, wait a second, what is that? And then making it right. Now it takes a lot of work, but it's also like the path of being able to be open to the God source, because we can't do that when we're not in alignment, because we're hiding something, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think, when you're in that state of fear, that has its own resonance. So you're gonna resonate with that more so.
My grandpa calls it bullshit. I was thinking about this yesterday too, because when I was so tired and cranky and I was eating a lot. Well, I know for me, when I have like some kind of unease, I feel it in my stomach, and I tend to eat more because I'm covering up that unease in my stomach. And my grandpa used to say, that's the bullshit. And I would be like, what do you mean? I'm just bloated. He's like, nope, that's the bullshit. That's covering up that's covering up the bullshit. That's trying to hide the bullshit. It's all just building up in you. And I think that we do that. We try to not have communication with our body. We try to not listen to what our body is actually telling us, because it's going to mean we have to change some of our behaviors. We have to change some of our language. We have to change, we have to take the time to look at everything that's in the refrigerator or underneath the refrigerator and get rid of all the crap that's that's rotting.
I love it.
Taking the time to do that.
Melisa, how can people connect with you? How can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram. It's Maka Movement, MAKA, Maka Movement. My website is melisauchida.com, MELISA. Or you can find me through the Healthy Human Project. That's my business, the Healthy Human Project. It's healing body, mind, and soul through 5 pillars of health and wholeness, which are body, mind, spirit, energy, and the environment. So it's a holistic approach to taking your health into your own hands and to saying, I am worthy of being healthy and vibrant, and I want this for myself. I want this for my family. It is something of personal responsibility. And
I love it.
That's about it. Yeah.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Trey. I appreciate your time. That was so fun.